What's going on, everybody? I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and you can see only my hands, which means it's time for an unboxing and review. That's right, it is time for Microbrand Monday. Now, we're going to put Microbrand in quotes today because the watchmaker we're going to take a look at is not really a microbrand at this point. But yeah, they're definitely not super duper mainstream, so I think, you know, it fits well in this series. We're going to be taking a look at a watchmaker that I get a ton of questions about in regards to their dive watches, Spinnaker. That's right, for all you guys in the comment section of my live streams every weekend, I finally have a Spinnaker for you. So let's tell the dang time. All right, I'm currently wearing my Timex Ironman Classic 30 oversized men's watch. Looks pretty decent on my wrist though. It is 11:33 a.m. Let's get down to business. Indigo! Okay, so a few of you might already know what's in the box just by the words here, but this is kind of a big deal. Okay, Spinnaker is seen as, you know, a more entry-level watchmaker, and the thing that's in here is definitely not what I would consider super duper entry-level just based upon the price alone. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But the name, Tassai Millimetri. Tassai Millimetri, I'm going to get roasted regardless of how I say it, but this is the Tassai Millimetri Swiss Automatic Movement Spinnaker 1000, and that has to do with the 1000 meter water resistance rating that this watch has. There's another thing that is 1000 about this watch. The price. This comes in at $1,350, but you can find it cheaper, you know, with discounts and stuff and promotions and everything that they're running. But yeah, okay, as I knock things over on my desk. We got some padding on that outer cardboard box. We got some bubble wrap. By the way, I brought up the price early in this episode because people get upset. They don't have patience to wait for my conclusion at the end of the episode. So yeah, $1,350 for this. This also comes in kind of a Pelican hard case. Got a handle, some clips, and a box within a box. Okay, so here it does have, you know, that Spinnaker 1000 branding. We have what seems to be probably an area for the booklet and warranty card. Oh, exactly. All right, Swiss movement instruction manual, yada, yada, yada. I know how to tell time. We got a tool. We have, and Gato, you know, put up a picture of me when I say that. We have a tool. No, a spring bar tool. We have a rubber diving strap, which I don't really like rubber diving straps. They kind of, I don't know, they give me a rash when it gets hot out. And then we have this watch roll. Nice leather, protective. Oh. Okay, let's get up close. Take a look at this dang watch, yeah? All right, so as we open this up, we can see the Spinnaker Tassai Millimetri. Tassai Millimetri. I don't know how you want to say it. I'm just going to say the Spinnaker 1000 meter diver. Because, again, people are going to get frustrated regardless of how I say the name of this watch. All right, cue the music. It's time for a time lapse to get this plastic off of the watch. Okie dokie. Oh yeah, you guys love it, you freaks out there. Okay guys, so just from that minimal handling of the watch to remove all that protective plastic and the hang tag, the watch is already ticking away. Now you'll notice actually a pretty smooth secondhand sweep there. I would wager a 28,800 BPH sweep, and it is because this has a Swiss-made Sellita SW200 automatic movement, hacking, hand wind, Oh, a bit of a thick boy over there. Not unlike myself. Now this has a 100 meter water resistance rating, and I should mention that because not only is it, all over the marketing material for this watch, but just the sheer thickness of that case. We're going to measure that in just 1 second. Why is this watch such a controversial piece for a watchmaker like Spinnaker? Well, it's funny because there's nothing super offensive about this watch. Like when you look at it, okay, there's some two-tone going on. We can see the handset and some of the applied index borders are kind of like a gold tone. The applied logo is a gold tone. And then of course we have stainless steel all over the case. And then, okay, black dial, black bezel. It's just kind of a 3 o'clock diver with a date complication. If anything, it's fairly Rolex. You know what I mean? I could definitely consider this a Rolex homage. Another thing I guess I would consider off-putting about this watch is that it is a limited edition, and that's also marketed all over the place, which, you know how I feel about limited editions. I don't really think that in and of itself provides any extra value. Like, limited edition watches aren't inherently better than non-limited releases, in my opinion, but I could harp on that over and over and over again. I think the most controversial piece about this watch is the price tag. And we're gonna go ahead and mess around with this watch to really see how it feels, how it works, how it functions. But really quick, above $1,000, well above $1,000, for a watch from kind of an entry-level watchmaker like Spinnaker, I think that is kind of a gut check for some people, right? You get some sticker shock there. Now, I'm not going to write this watch off just yet, though. We really gotta test it out. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so now that we've gone over the price and we've unboxed the piece, let's go ahead and measure the watch, because people get furious when I don't measure the watch immediately. So excluding the crown guards and that crown, again, this is kind of your standard sports watch layout here. At its widest point, this is 44.1 millimeters across. Lug to lug, very much important as well. We're talking about wearability. 50.4 millimeters. Now here's the metric I'm actually very, very interested as we gingerly set it down on the desk. I'm interested in the case thickness. 16.4 millimeters thick. That is not insignificant. This is, a pretty sizable thickness. Would I say hockey puck? Maybe. It is a lot of watch. But let's put it on the wrist. All right, the Spinnaker Tissé Millimetrie on my 7.5-inch wrist for reference. Now the lug to lug is actually not an issue on my wrist. It's not like encompassing or hanging over the entirety of my wrist. What I will say is it feels thick. It feels definitely thick on the wrist. Now the bracelet doesn't feel like a hair puller. It's kind of like, I guess, what I would compare to like an oyster link bracelet. But yeah, it's a whole lot of watch. What I'm more interested in is how much it actually weighs. So I've brought my scale back into the office. Let's actually take a look at that really quick. Alrighty, so I have the scale here in the office. Let's go ahead and zero it out. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and put the Spinnaker on the scale. 260 grams. That is a lot of watch. So with the Spinnaker, you are getting, of course, that 1,000 meter water resistance rating. You're getting a sapphire crystal. You are getting a unidirectional rotating bezel that we will test here in a moment. But with that bezel, you're also getting a sapphire inlay, giving it that kind of interesting glossy look. You are getting a date complication with a magnifier there. I know some people, you love it or you hate it. I think it's very Rolex of them to do that. But I know a lot of people just absolutely hate like the Cyclops on their watch. They can't stand it. You are getting a signed crown with some big chonky integrated crown guards there. One thing when I had it on the wrist that I wanted to bring up is this interesting clasp here. So you will notice when we take a look at the clasp, you'll see two buttons, right? So these smaller buttons actually open and close the clasp, but these right here, you can call it diver's extension, potentially you can call it micro adjustments, doesn't really matter. Oh, I can actually see some plastic that we missed there under the clasp. But you do have the ability, if it gets hot out and your wrist swells up a little bit, you can go ahead, give yourself some extra real estate there on the bracelet. Or if you want to wear this over a wetsuit or maybe over a jacket cuff, you can give yourself a lot more real estate there. So do I like this more than, say, the micro adjustments that you would actually need to use your tool for? Yes, absolutely. It's a great kind of quick ratcheting thing. But I will say the Seiko Tuna probably has my favorite system out of any system I've encountered. It's just so quick, so easy, and just, yeah, great clasp extension system. But this, no slouch. So before we get up super duper close onto that dial, I want to inspect the watch a little bit further. We can see the bracelet has some very hefty center links there. A little bit of play on the bracelet, but that's not super out of the ordinary, and I didn't notice it being a hair puller, and I have some fairly hairy wrists there. We can see the sides of the links are nicely polished, although the face of all the links are brushed, and that matches the case of the watch. So the head of the watch, you'll notice brushed face, but then the sides of the case nicely polished aside from my dirty fingerprints. Let's go ahead and get up close here. Okay, so because of this watch's 1,000 meter water resistance rating, this watch utilizes a helium escape valve. So, the deeper you go down, this watch can kind of regulate the gases and it won't implode or explode or whatever you nerds out there explain to me what happens. But that's very nice to see. Ooh, very nice how this watch plays with the light here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the crown, yeah? All right, let's see how well this crown unthreads. Actually, very smooth unthreading. Let's thread it back in real quick. Yeah, actually impressively smooth. This crown threads and unthreads. Let's check the crown setting and function. Okay, that's the date. Two very distinct clicks. We can see the second hand has stopped, so this watch does in fact hack. And I can feel the resistance of hand winding. Sorry for holding you out of focus there real quick. All right, yeah, very impressive, smooth crown setting and function. Everything works the way it should. Now let's test this bezel. Okie dokie, nothing worse than a sloppy timing bezel. Let's go ahead and test this one's out. Well, very tight tolerances actually. Yeah, this is not going anywhere. There's no play in the bezel. You really have to yank on it to get any play. But I'm gonna be honest, this is probably going to be a little bit difficult for some people. I have some pretty impressive grip strength, I'm not gonna lie. But this, yeah, wow. So if you're worried about a sloppy timing bezel, this is not going to be sloppy at all. In fact, I think the tolerances might be a little too tight on this one. Wow. Okie dokie. So as the second hand sweeps across the dial, we can see some text on this dial, but I commend Spinnaker for not putting a paragraph of text all together. We can see 3,300 feet or 1,000 meters. This is referring to that water resistance rating. Below that, we can see Swiss movement. Now, guys, every watchmaker wants to have the word Swiss on their watch somewhere. Now, take from that what you will. Spinnaker, this watch does have a Swiss movement, so they're not lying, but does that need to be there? I don't think so. We can see the indexes are applied. We're going to get a different shot of that for you in a moment, but in between those applied indexes, we can see a nice pattern bordering the indexes, but then on the inner dial, or as I guess we would call it, the Rio or the Riot, or the Riot. What I've heard it pronounced many different ways. I'm just going to say the Riot. We can see what appears to be lumed markers, which I'll be very interested when we put it up against that UV torch to see if they glow or not. Now, honestly, would it be a time teller review if we didn't scrutinize the logo? So here is where there is a bit more font. Spinnaker, automatic. I think it's totally inoffensive, in my opinion. It's not ginormous. It's not some stupid, weird font. It's not Comic Sans. It looks just fine, in my opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Should they have put a logo there, or do you think the signage is just fine? Leave me that comment and let me know. Now we are getting up very close to this hour hand, and I wanted to show you Spinnaker actually did some very nice finishing on this handset. We have seen some handsets in Microbrand Monday that have some burrs. They're kind of unfinished, looks kind of ragged on the edges of the handset, but we can see here definitely on that hour hand very nice finishing. And then what's funny, grabbing some assistance from that magnifier, we can see the minute hand and the second hand as it sweeps across also has a very nice grained texture, very nice finishing all in all when it comes to the handset. Love it. But what about the date complication itself? Well, I think they did a pretty good job with it. Here's why. We have a matte black date wheel. Everything is pretty prim and proper when it comes to the date window, and it's not a total eyesore. So the only thing that really sticks out to you would be the magnifier. And I know some people immediately are just going to write this watch off because it has a magnifier. Now, I tend to like them, but I totally understand if you don't. What I will say is I'm very happy they didn't use a white date wheel, because that would just make it pop even more, and I know that some people just would hate that. Black dial, white date wheel, magnifier. People don't like that, that's fine. I think it's very Rolex, and again, I would absolutely consider this watch a Rolex homage, so take that as you will. All in all, it's kind of an inoffensive, handsome watch from Spinnaker. I think everything feels really solid. I think the specs are great. I think people are going to have a hard time kind of getting over the fact that Spinnaker is charging, well over $1,000, close to $1,400 for a watch, because again, this is kind of an entry-level watchmaker. But I don't think that we should relegate watchmakers to a certain bracket. Like, I don't think just because you typically make entry-level watches, you're never allowed to make higher-end watches, or just because you make higher-end watches, you're not allowed to make an affordable watch. I just think it's interesting, and maybe I'm being too assumptive, to use kind of an archaic word, but I think that a lot of people are going to say this is a hard pill to swallow. However, I've been wrong, I've been surprised, and I'm only human. So I think that people are going to not like the price tag of this watch. What I will tell you is everything feels incredibly solid. The tolerance is very tight. The finishing, really impressive. I think this was a great entryway for me to, finally review a Spinnaker watch. My only complaints is the tolerances of the bezel a little bit too tight. Why is that a problem? Well, you are utilizing that timing bezel to hit specific markers. And when it's super duper tight and you can't manipulate it with your fingertips very quickly, it's hard to get a precise precise orientation with that bezel. I guess another complaint would be this dang Swiss movement signage. Guys, I know it might be a little tiny stupid thing to complain about, but I'm gonna keep harping on it, okay? I am sick and tired of the perpetuation and the belief that a watch has to have the word Swiss on it to be respected or impressive or luxurious or good. That's not the case. Not every Swiss watch is impressive. I know, mind-blowing, right? Not every Swiss-made watch is a good watch, and not every watch has to have the word Swiss on it to be impressive. So I'm not going to blame Spinnaker. I know it sounds like I'm dropping the hammer here, but I'm not going to blame Spinnaker for them believing this hype, but I will blame Spinnaker for perpetuating it, if that makes sense. So Guys, let's move away from this. Like, I like Swiss watches. I like watches that aren't Swiss. I just like watches, and I try to judge them on a watch-to-watch basis. So let's just break away from this stupid belief that a watch has to have the word Swiss on it to be a nice watch. But as you know, there's one more thing that we have to test before I wrap this up. Man, look, the watch, oh man, it plays with the light very, very nicely, but what happens if there is no light? What happens when you are in the absence of light? Well, we're going to test that out right now. Well, good news. All I did was turn off the studio lighting and close the window, and yeah, it's already glowing a little bit. But we're going to supercharge this. I'm going to use my viewer-supplied UV torch quickly and carefully shine it up a little bit. Dang, boy! All right, Spinnaker wins. This is easily the best Lume I've seen on Micro Brand Monday, and it's not even close. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Looky there. I like that. I'm gonna give it one quick little blast again for you guys, because I don't know how well the camera is showing you. I don't know how well you can distinguish between the two tones of Lume. So the handset is actually blue, what I assume to be like a Super Luminova BGW9 or something like that. And then the bezel and all the other indexes are green. Now I'm actually just noticing something. Hold on. Is this tritone Lume? Okay, again, I had to kind of get close with the naked eye here. I don't know, on playback, it might be kind of hard to see, but on the Rio, the markers on the deeper chapter ring, it's actually kind of an orange tone. So we have orange, we have green, and we have blue. One thing I really do like is that sapphire inlay on the bezel. Plays with the Lume very nicely, gives it kind of a subdued glow there. I dig it. Spinnaker, good job. Oh, there we go. I'll make it even darker. One last blast. One last blast, baby. Look at that, man. Is it a contender to Seiko's Lume Bright? I don't know. Maybe we're gonna have to do a Lume test in the near future. But very nicely done, Spinnaker. So guys, we've spent an afternoon with the Spinnaker Tessie Millimetry. Man, that name. That's another complaint. Change the name. The Spinnaker 1000 meter diver. It is quite impressive as far as an entire package. Again, the tolerance is very tight, almost too tight on the bezel. Crown, silky smooth, threaded, two very discernible crown settings, functions the way it should as far as, you know, hacking hand wind. Very impressive Lume, very nice finishing all around, dial clean, no sediment that I could see. Maybe you guys will see it on the playback. Very nice finishing on the handset, applied indexes, Lume everywhere, matte black date wheel with a magnifier, nice bracelet, very nice clasp. I think I showed you this a little earlier, maybe not, but there is a 1000 Spinnaker 1000 on the screw down case back there, a little engraving. It is a thick boy, probably not for people that don't want a fairly hefty watch on the wrist, but it's not gargantuan, excuse me, it's not enormous. The price tag kind of is though for this company. It's $13.50. Now I say for this company because I know people are kind of, it's going to be difficult for people to ignore that. Now as a watch, for what you get, Swiss movement, all the specs, 1000 meter water resistance rating with this kind of finishing, I could see you having to pay a pretty penny for it. Now, this is where people in the comment section are going to be like, no, well, you know, you can get this watch with this specs for this price, or you can get this one. And of course, guys, definitely leave those comments. $13.50 leaves a lot of room for a bunch of alternatives. But I had a blast with this watch. I'm just here showing you this watch as I review it. It's my first impression, and it's up to you to formulate your own opinion. I'm not trying to sell this to you right now. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you to Spinnaker for making this review possible, for sending me this watch and sponsoring me. And thank you so much to my channel members for allowing me to film every day here. Thank you to my viewers. What is a channel without the viewers? You guys freaking rock. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out www.thetimetellershop.com. That's the #1 place to find affordable vintage luxury watches handpicked by me. All right, guys, I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time, I just tell it.